Virgo, Sun, Moon, Rising 2025. Virgo, you are exiting the energy of Neptune, which you've had for the last 14 years, because Neptune has been opposing your sign. Here it is, since 2012 or something like that. And it's been a long transit, but Neptune for 14 years or something wants to make you more spiritual, softer, more compassionate. But on the material level, it might have been quite confusing for many Virgos for years and years, because Neptune has the opposite energy of Virgo. Neptune is spiritualizing, while Virgo's task in the world is, of course, to notice the material, to be very in control of the material, to deal with the material tasks and problems, to solve them. Virgo is a problem solver. And Neptune has been asking you for more than a decade, let go and let God, has been dissolving the tangible reality in your life. So it might have been much more confusing at periods, unclear. Usually Virgo is supposed to be quite clear about where they're heading and what they want. It's a very rational sign, but Neptune has been dissolving that rationality, and it has spiritualized you. It has worked on your astral refinement, on the refinement of the feelings, on higher virtues, but it might have been quite confusing on the material and emotional level, overly emotional. You had to deal with those floods of emotions for years and years. And for the last 2 years, Saturn has also been opposing you since 2023, 2024. And Saturn has been opposing you, putting order, trying to structurize all this Neptunian confusion that has been for many years for you. But in 2025, both of them will dip out of your sign. They'll come back very shortly for a few months at the end of the year, but you'll get the first glimpse of what it is not to have two very difficult planets opposing you. Opposition is also a difficult aspect. But still you have 2025 to structure, to organize, which is actually Virgos might like Saturnian energy much more than Neptunian energy. So this year, 2025, the structuring energy of Saturn is still very strong for 3 months. It dips out of your 7th house, goes into the 8th house, but neither of those planets for the many years ahead, at least for the next 7-10 years and more, they're not going to affect Neptune anymore. They're not going to affect you, Virgo, directly. And Saturn might have been slowing things down for you, might have made them more like stuck. Sometimes there's a bit of a stagnant energy when Saturn opposes you, because Saturn is the most slowest moving visible planet, as we know. Well, Neptune making it confusing and so on, but both of those planets move away from your sign and will not be directly aspecting you. While for the next 7 years, Uranus is dipping, is going to be the main influence of the outer planets for you, because it's going to come into a direct square aspect with Virgo from the 10th house, from Gemini, where it's moving in 2025, and it will be squaring your sign for the next 7-8 years ahead. So suddenly you're moving away from those more sleepy energy. Neptune and Saturn can be slow energy, sleepy, slower, or some kind of confusing or stagnant, and you're moving into the very fast energy of Uranus for 7 years ahead, of fast changes ahead. Uranus is planet of awakening. It's going to wake you up from the slumber of Neptune and Saturn that have been putting on you. Of course, they did some very important work for you here from your 7th house, Neptune and Saturn. We'll talk about it when we get to it. But I just, a big summary at the beginning is that from now on, maybe from July onwards, you're going to start feeling a lot more Uranus energy rather than Saturn and Neptune. And Uranus energy for 7 years is about speeding up the vibration, while Neptune and Saturn tend to slow down the vibration. Now it's going to be awake time, fast changes, and especially through your career, we'll talk about, and through your role in society. But I just wanted to give you this big summary that from now on, and especially you would feel this fully from 2026, when Uranus moves fully and fully into aspecting Virgo, and when Saturn and Neptune move fully out from aspecting Virgo. And so, yeah, you know, get ready for Uranian energy. Wake up, a lot of new things, speeding up of the vibration, and such kind of exciting changes. So now let's start month by month. January starts with Mars still retrograde. Mars gets retrograde at the beginning of December, and it's mostly retrograde basically into your, let's move all the other planets away so it doesn't confuse you. Mars has turned retrograde from the beginning of January. It moves back into your 11th house, Virgo, and it's going to stay retrograde there pretty much 2 months, the whole January and until the 23rd of February when it turns direct. But actually it stays in your 11th house pretty much till the middle of April. So the first 3 months and a half, you have Mars in your 11th house. So the majority, Mars usually stays just a month and a half, but now with this retrograde and forward movement, a huge accent here on the 11th house, and not just January, but maybe January, February, March, and into April. So what does Mars there for such a long period want from you? Mars mobilizes our forces in certain area of life. And for you, it's happening. Actually, it is supportive because it's making sextile to you. Those Virgos that are born from around 15 to 30 degrees will have a sextile from this Mars, which is retrograde and direct. So this is support and more motivation. And Mars loves being in the 11th house. You can get a lot of things done, especially long-term goals and projects, which is the 11th house. And Mars mobilizes your forces, your energy into those long-term and your intelligence, because Mars rules your 3rd house of your thinking, of your skills, going in the 11th house of long-term goals and dreams and long-term projects, some big project that you might be required to focus your mental energy, your skills, your social abilities as well. And you might be even doing some projects with a group of people, because 3rd house rules teams. 11th house also rules, it's another social house of large organizations or teams of people as well, that you might be putting a lot of energy during the retrograde period. You might be fixing, redoing some project, you know, making sure that you're improving it, making it better, even if there's some things that are not working perfectly well, that needs to be corrected. But that's the job of Mars, to help you correct something that is not ultimate, to make you fix. Mars is a fixer-upper to solve problems. And you can do this, or even friends can be helping you, because 11th house rules friends, acquaintances, so people with like-minded interests. You might become more active or more engaged with like-minded political, spiritual groups, organizations, or some kind of that help humanity, or some social movements even. A person, when 11th house is very strongly activated, can become very interested in what's happening with the world, and they want to repair and fix society, or that's why it rules such big projects that influence not just you, but society. So you might be, some of you might be really engaged in some project. It might be altruistic project or social project or a big company business project. 11th house is business as well, because these are your followers, these are your clients, these are how society reacts to the product, these are your networking connections. This is the ability of your product or whatever you're offering as a business or career to reach wider circles of people, to spread. So you might be working there to fix, to improve something connected to business, to 11th house rules gains, to gain. How will society accept what you have to offer? 11th house, what do we offer to the world? And how society accepts that, and the reward you get back for it. The rewards can be titles and honors, recognition socially of some sort by the end of this process in April, when you have finished everything, or, you know, into the year. Or there might be more gains. You might be restructuring, retouching and reorganizing in some way to be more gainful, to have more earnings in your business, for example, to revise your potential clients, revise your potential field of influence, where you reach to. So there is, but Mars is great because it mobilizes your energy for big things. and you can get a lot done. Even during the retrograde period, you can fix, even if it slows down. Yeah, during retrograde period, some big project you're working on, or goal or dream, or some title that you're going after, or, or some financial benefits that you're going after or gains, it might get slowed down because the universe is telling you there is something that you can do a bit better there, or something that is not fully working. So it's showing you where you're approaching those topics in a not so logical way, or in not so perfect way, let's say, and to rework it, to improve it. And if some goals of yours are not sustainable, unrealistic, or in some way no longer valid, you can remove them. You might reorient yourself towards what is your long-term goals and plans during this period. But by the time in February, towards the end of February, when Mars starts turning direct, things will start picking up again there, and either in March and April, you start seeing the results. Maybe you'd have more gains, maybe you'd have reworked your social interactions and clients, followers, the approach you have towards them, how to connect with them, and so on. On a more personal level, this Mars retrograde in the 11th house can make you revise who are your friends, who are your social circle. Something can change, if you change something in your personal life, or sometimes where you live, or just who you interact with. I remember having Mars retrograde in my 11th house in 2016. I'll give you an example. In that period, when it was about to start going retrograde, I had a big blow up with my best friend. And our relationship stayed distant for about a couple of months, pretty much during the Mars retrograde period. And we revised how important this relationships and friendship was. And we connected again on a higher level after that, with more respect with each other. So there might be some emotional moments with friends and the people in your social environments. And if they're really valuable, if they're good, how do I say, if they're still helpful, useful friendships in your life, they will be reworked to the next level and become much more better even. If not, you might remove certain people from your life, or they might remove you from their life. And you might really rethink and re-examine your friendships, but it can start with a crisis because it is Mars after all, with some fight or whatever. But just be aware. And if you don't want to start fights, don't be the first one to start fights with your social circle. Or you might find yourself battling more online, because the 11th house is those spaces of groups and social media as well, that you might start fighting and battling it out with others there. That's one possible manifestation. And you have to rethink your behaviors and in such group environments. There might be something, but on the positive level, you might be very much activated to participate in such collective endeavors, or towards some social project or movements that can mobilize your energy and focus and communications, because Mars rules your third house of communications. And you can do a lot to help society as well with this Mars retrograde, of this whole Mars period being there in your 11th house. But hopefully the final results are either more harmonious eventually by April, May, and the better social environment for you, involvement with the right groups of people, achieving and completing of some long-term goal, dream, or project of yours that required you to focus, concentrate more. And yeah, maybe more gainfulness as well in some way. 11th house, as I said, is popularity and reaching wider audiences. And Mars Day is asking you to, what you're doing wrong, that you can do it in a better way in some way. So that's one of the themes. I love Mars in the 11th house. Ancient astrology says that 11th house loves malefics because it's a house where you have to do hard work, because it's the 6 from the 6. 6 is hard work. So it has connotations, and it's the 6 from the 6. So it has 6th house energy, which is also Virgo energy. And it's about Mars is there telling you to put consistent, and it's helping you to put focus energy for a long period of time this year towards achieving some long-term goal and dream, and it never happens without hard work. And Mars, and it's perfect. Malefic in the 11th house gives you the drive for hard work to achieve the good things of that house. Okay, those goals. At the same time, at the beginning of January, the North and South node are changing signs. The North and South nodes are those, the moon, where the sun and where the moon and sun ecliptic cross. The North node is, of course, the direction that will get very fast development over the next year and a half in 2025 till the middle of 2026. And the South node is represented by this sign. It's turned upside down. The North node is like this. The South node is like this. This is the tail of the dragon, where we kind of become more passive in that area of life. We maybe sacrifice or let go of some of the things of that house. And for you, Virgo, the North node is moving from the 8th house and moving into your 7th house. And the South node is moving into your sign in Virgo. So this will be maybe the other most important influence for you, probably the most important influence for you, Virgos, which directly affects you in the whole 2025, is the South node in your sign and the North node in your 7th house. So the eclipses are starting. They started in 2024 already. The first eclipse was in Pisces, but they're starting to happen the whole 2025. The eclipses will be happening on the axis of Virgo and Pisces, on your axis of, if it's your ascendant and moon sign, this is a relationship axis. And many times when eclipses happen on the axis of the first house, or even through the sun, if it's your sun is in Virgo, fated developments in relationships. We have again similarity here. Here is your reworking your friendship, social environment. Here is, fated developments with relationships. And let me give you an example. When there was eclipses on my sun sign, so if your sun in Virgo, I got married first time. When there was another eclipse in the 7th house from my sun, I met the love of my life and got divorced. And so eclipse, and when there was an eclipse, so eclipses on the axis of the sun, ascendant, or moon can bring this, because they always activate the opposite house of relationships, can activate fated relationships. Maybe not exactly on the day of the eclipse, sometimes it's close to the eclipse, but this whole year ahead. So this whole 2025 and into 2026. So for someone, if you're single, it can bring up a fated partner, or if you're in a relationship or marriage that is unhealthy, it can suddenly, eclipses work very fast, can shift the energy. But let's talk specifically about the North node in the 7th and the South node in the 1st house. And yeah, Vedic astrology says you cannot have a marriage or meeting an important life partner without eclipses on this axis, which I pretty much can confirm. Maybe 70 to 80% is correct in most cases. That my husband had an eclipse on his ascendant when he met me. So in the house of the ascendant, descendant. So it's crazy how correct this is. So Rahu in the 7th house and South node, Ketu, the dragon's tail in your 1st house. Another thing this makes was when you see a snake, what does that mean? A snake sheds its skin. Even in meditation, I was praying one time and I was like, eclipses are going to be happening over my sun. They just happened recently. I didn't meet to marry anyone this time, so thanks God. But I was asking God, please give me a sign what it means. And I was walking and praying, because I do that a lot when I go on long walks. And I saw in front of me, what are those eclipses on the axis of your sun, moon, or ascendant, Rahu and Ketu represent? And I saw that snake, no, a skin of a snake. The snake wasn't there. So a snake skin that was left behind. And I was like, aha moment. I was like, this is a period of shedding of one's skin. And that's exactly what's happened in the last year and a half when the eclipses were happening in my sun sign. For you, they start now in your sun sign or moon sign or ascendant sign. there is some kind of a mini shedding of the skin. It's not once in a lifetime. The eclipses happen in your sun sign or moon sign or ascendant sign, you see, once every 9 years, once every 9 years. So we constantly have such mini shedding of skin periods, but this is very important if you're Virgo, sun, moon, or rising now. With the sun is very potent if it's your sun in Virgo. With ascendant and moon is very much focused on relationships as well in some way through others. So, and you see the dragon's tail is in your sign. So you'll be able to excrete those old roles from your life, those old self-identifications that are holding you back. But it can feel like a bit of a more quiet time for a year and something until Uranus starts acting. And this first, it's almost like it's going to, in this process of rebirth, sometimes it's quieting down to extract yourself from that skin. And the rebirth is expedited by the dragon's head. And, you know, the skin is, the tail is shed latest, while the head is where the skin starts shedding first. Forgive me if I'm not correct, but that's how I've seen it, at least. That's what I think. So the head starts those changes, and the head is in your 7th house. And in the 7th house, those changes can come to you through others. Just like when eclipses were happening on the sign of my sun with the south node, a new person appeared, Rahu in the 7th house, the north node, who triggered that change for me. And I felt like a new person within a month of meeting this person, a mini rebirth for me. And so the trigger and the change can come externally. 7th house is not always other people, but it can be external influence. It can be a marriage partner that the change happens through. It can be someone you're dating, or it can be someone that is a business partner. It can be a very close friend that triggers that change for you, or just meeting new person in some way. But there's new energy in your 7th house of other people. This new energy, and you see this kind of ties in well with Mars here, revising who your social circle is, who you're letting in your life. But this is more on a general friendship level or business level. This is on a more personal level, the 7th house as well. So what are those one-to-one, some new one-to-one powerful relationship or person can appear in your life over the next year and a half at some period that triggers this shedding of the skin and this letting go of old roles and self-identifications you've had in your life. And Rahu is some kind of a foreign, exotic, very tempting energy as well. So if someone appears in your life, whether it's romantically or whether it's on a business level, on a personal friendship level, which there will be with Rahu, they'll have this very glamorous energy to them, or very unfamiliar new energy. It's not typical. It's not something that the type of person you usually let into your life. It's exciting. It's passionate. This person has passionate qualities. But don't forget that most of 2025, you also have Saturn and Neptune in your 7th house. So the North Node is not fully manifesting on its own. Only in the summer for 3 months, 4 months, Rahu will be alone here in your 7th house, the North Node, to have its pure energy of what I'm talking about. And then Neptune and Saturn come back into the 7th house again. And North Node is more influenced by them. And then in 2026 is pure energy of the North Node in your 7th house. But one of the things that the North Node is foreign influence, foreigners, people that are very different culturally or energetically, or have very different understandings from you. They open up some kind of new exciting world for you, very different, very unusual. But also Rahu can bring people that are maybe previously divorced, or sometimes Rahu can bring some type of temptation into the relationships, because it's the dragon's head, and it's associated in Vedic astrology with temptation, with being with someone who is already, you know, involved or something like that. So I'm a bit of a taboo breaking situation because Rahu is the rule breaker, the taboo breaker. But of course, most of the time Saturn is in your 7th house, so it's making you do things the right way because Saturn doesn't tolerate you doing things like that way. But Rahu will start breaking those boundaries. But actually, you see the Rahu moving into a 7th house. First in February, it joins with Neptune. And then in April, it joins with Saturn. So pretty much the first 4 months of the year, you have a stellium, we call it, like a gathering of 3 extremely potent energies in your 7th house of relationships or external influences. It's not always people that the 7th house represents, it's external influences. And the South Node being in your sign means like you have to, because the South Node has more, not weakening energy, but the one that makes you more passive, where this one becomes very active area in your life. So somehow, especially the first 3-4 months of the year, the circumstances will, what's happening will be somehow external to you. You'd have to take into account what others or what is externally, and to become more receptive. South Node in the 1st house says, be receptive, things will come to you from outside. And here you see a lot of things happening. So it's okay for you to be actually, rather than go and try and do stuff, open yourself to see what approaches you from outside and then react. And the South Node, when it's in your sign, it's more spiritual energy and it's more passive energy. You have to, it's like a good reaction, body reaction rather than mind reaction. Try to react more with the body rather than with the mind. You see, not overly analyzing more. It's going to be like a feeling that the South Node will unlock for you, really making you very spiritual as well, very intuitive, picking up influences from others much more easily. They open up the psychic, because you're kind of become like an open channel here, and Rahu is hungry and takes whatever external influence comes to you from others. So you can become more impressionable for a year and a half as well. But let's speak more materially how it can manifest. Spiritually, yeah, you can become more psychic, more impressionable, more even it's good to connect to the body, but you might feel sometimes a bit spaced out with South Node is in your sign or demotivated, but it is okay, you know, nothing to but you kind of, because you're shedding some old behaviors, some old self-identities. If it's your moon in Virgo, some emotional connections or place of living you might shed and let go. Or if it's your sun, moon, or ascendant there, it can be personalities, roles in life that you shed and you welcome new ones. If it's your sun, it might be an aspect of your career and also your ego, your personality, your way of being. But as I said, this external energy brings for you the interesting new developments from another person. And as I said, it might be an important year for some of you to get married, for some of you to have a really powerful developments in their personal life. And of course, because Saturn is in the 7th house as well, it can carry the elements if you're meeting a new person, someone who is older, but at the same time more mature, or someone who is has very worldly qualities, Rahu, but also spiritual. It's a big mixture here. These are all energies that clash, or they can just activate that something very important happens to you through collaborations or partnerships. Those first 3-4 months in particular, extremely potent. Especially in February, the North Node meets with Neptune in your 7th house. Some spiritual people can enter your life, or a partner, or influence from a past life, you know, Neptune. But Rahu is, there is this exciting energy as well. There is this passionate energy. Then Rahu, the North Node, joins with Saturn in April, and it can make you have some big realizations overall in your relationships, who you're with, and it can bring some more mature energy there, or commitment energy. So first, Neptune can bring more romantic, spiritual energy, soul connection, and then towards April, when North Node gets closer to Saturn, more this commitment energy. Or Rahu here can bring the dissolution energy, so sometimes Rahu with Neptune and Saturn as well. But something big is happening to you, maybe a big change in the life of your partner if you're married already, or if you're in a relationship. They are going through a transformation themselves, and that affects you, some new commitment you take up with a partner, or that takes the relationships to the next level, or some big change that they're doing in their own life that affects you. And because Saturn is not easy influence, Neptune is not always the easiest. And with Rahu, it escalates and magnifies the energy. If truly you're not in a right relationship, it can free you, that energy can break through, but also someone or something new appears there. It's not just a loss, you let go of relationship and you're like a single electron. There is new energy coming to you from there. So someone appears or something. Also, if you're not so much interested in relationships, seventh house is business contracts, agreements, business partnerships, contracts, sign of any sort. There might be some very important developments of you, and also clients. You become more passionate to look for clients, to reach out to others, because Rahu increases the passion, while Saturn tends to put walls and barriers. You see how contradictory those energies are? Well, Neptune dissolves walls and barriers. So we have like such a mishmash of energies here. Which one is going to be the most intense? I don't know exactly, but something comes, there's like a new reset, new beginnings, and Saturn and Neptune basically are conjunct there. Reset through your relationships, reset through partnerships, reset through some contracts or agreement. And those agreements or contracts or relationships that you start, those first 4 or 5 months can be long-term, because Saturn is there as well. Which is something about long-term, or some contract or responsibility you take with another that is long-term. But of course, if there is any deceptive, because Neptune and the North Node can have deceptive energy, Saturn will burst that bubble in contracts, in relationships. So if there is something that is dishonest or not behind the scenes, you'd become very aware in 2025 about that. But if it's something new, it can be long-term, as we said. So something very, very important there. In the seventh house, you see, first we have one social house, then we have another social house, where especially the first 4 months are very concentrated. So I would say this is when you reach out to others, when or others reach out to you, when you revise relationship, when there is a lot of connecting. And if you're in business, that can be busy and important time for you, because these are business houses of connecting with others. What is business but connecting, exchanging? If you're in some kind of a seventh house career, connecting to people, negotiation, contracts, counseling, sales, very busy and important first 4 or 5 months. You're redoing something, you're taking it to the next level, seeing things from a different perspective, putting things into action, structuring, organizing. And there is a big revision of relationships overall, Virgo. So yeah, some of it will take a relationship to the next level, big development. For others, it might be like bursting of a bubble of some illusions that you had, and you realize the truth, and that makes you reorganize your life. For others, it can be new business partnerships while revising old ones, or contacts and so on. So somehow important events, especially if you're Virgo rising, because this is the most important sign to look through, usually the ascendant. But I say a lot of people identify more with the sun, the moon, so you'd feel it better listening to the 3 signs, which you are when you see how things are developing, will be through others in some way. And then in February, as we said, on the 23rd of February, Mars starts moving direct. And so if there was any delays with gains, with business, or with your complications with friendships, with achieving of some long-term goal or dream or wish, or some project, like big project you're working in, it starts getting resolved and things starts moving more, and you start seeing the results of your extra efforts if you had to put some extra efforts or corrections during the retrograde period. So things start untangling. 11th house is also older sibling. So if you have like all the siblings, some situation there that was, you know, more tense or complicated, things starts resolving in their life or in your relationship with them as well. And in February, we talked that the South Node conjoins Neptune. It is happening in 28 degrees Pisces, so especially Virgos that are born from 25 to 30 degrees will feel this Neptune South North Node conjunct. On the 7th of February, I would say the whole February you'd feel it, even the whole January and February. But those degrees, those last 5 degrees of Virgo feel the Neptune South Node conjunction, the North Node conjunction, the strongest on 25 to 30 degrees. Virgos, you feel it the most, something huge, important, big, whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant in Virgo coming to you through others, spiritualization, or new energy in your relationship life, or through others, or some big shift happening in the life of your partner in some way. And this Neptunian energy can bring you a new partner who is Neptunian in healing, in pharma, in medical field, or they can have progress in such fields if you already have a partner with this combination. Or because Neptune naturally rules in partnerships, joining with Rahu for single people, that's very powerful, positive sign. Even the earlier Virgos can have that. Neptune with Rahu in the North Node, it enhances the rule of your 7th house, this North Node, some new energy through partnerships. Okay, or in the life of your partners. In March, we have a very busy month, a lot of things. First 2 eclipses, first Venus and Mercury turn retrograde, and then 2 eclipses. And it's not directly aspecting you, but it's in your 8th house. So a lot of action in this 8th house. The one that you really feel, I think, is the one directly opposite with Saturn, Neptune, South Node. Well, we have first Venus from the 1st of April, so March. So you might feel it already from February, Venus being here in your 8th house. So from February it starts. Venus turns retrograde on the 1st of March in your 8th house. And on the 15th of March, Mercury turns retrograde in the 8th house. So I would say this whole period while they're there in your 8th house, starting from February, it's funny, Mars is just turning direct on the 23rd of February. And then Mercury and Venus start preparing their retrograde phase. In April and March, they turn retrograde. So we don't get a break here from retrogrades, but it's interesting. Retrogrades always shift perspective, change the direction of things. There is dynamic energy, and there is sometimes energy of more efforts that have to be done. But yeah, something starts shifting in this 8th house for you. So already from February and the whole of March, make sure your taxes, for some of you, it might require you focus on taxes, which is 8th house, on payments towards others or payments from others. And this is your mutual finances. So your money with a partner, whatever. So some of you might be rebudgeting February, March, April, this whole period while they act in this 8th house there. And so there might be something about what you give and what you receive, my money, your money, how much you contribute with a business partner, with a personal partner, with money that you receive from institutions or whatever. So there's some reworking there, reorganizing of such things. The retrograde planet requires 3 times more efforts, but if you put the right efforts and it gives you an alternative perspective on how things can be, to do it in a different, better way, then when it turns direct, it gives you 3 times more lasting and positive results. So this is a financial house, the 8th house, and it's connected because it's also opposing your 2nd house. You might be revising your budget or mutual budget, your business budget, revising your clients' finances, maybe turning back when they go retrograde to reach out to clients somehow that you've neglected, and financially to see what you can do. Or 8th house can be really renegotiating, because both Venus and Mercury are very good planets of negotiation, about how much is fair that you pay or someone else pay, or maybe some money can be returned back to you. You see, it can play out like that. Or maybe some changes happening in the financial situation of your partner, business or personal partner. So you have to reimagine your finances, and this affects you. And it might be for good, because by the time they turn direct in April and onwards, you might have much better mutual financial stability. Eighth house is also inheritances and insurances. So you might be doing some important work connected to that, revising, changing, reimagining something, or dealing with certain papers or conversations about taxes, insurances, inheritances. That implies inheritances, sometimes the topic of death. I hope it's not that, not your death, God forbid, of course not. It's, but there is this theme. It's eighth house of death and rebirth. But yeah, these are some of the more materialistic things that it can be playing out with. And again, don't think, oh, you have big problems with other people's finances, resources, or taking a lease or a mortgage. These are also such things, mortgages, leases, all those eighth house things, the things I'm like cringe. But it might be that you do some really good work there. I don't know, you kind of get a tax refund by the end of this period, maybe in March, maybe in April, because it's a whole period of those planets staying in your eighth house. It's not just when they're retrograde, it's when they first go direct, February there, then retrograde April, March there, and then going back into it towards the end of April, again into your eighth house. So this whole period might be 2-3 months that you're dealing with those mutual finances, resources, and alimony is my money, your money. It's interesting for some of you, if you're with this powerful seventh house activity, there is like big changes in your relationship, and then it comes about mutual finances. For some, it might be, okay, we're going to have a child, and this is the eighth house of conception, to get pregnant, because it's the gate of life and death and rebirth. So this is where we conceive a child, but also this is where life exits, the topics of death and birth. So let's see, big change, new responsibility in your relationship. You get pregnant sometime in the few months at the beginning of the year. So you have to reimagine your finances as well with partner, whatever. Or it might be that you take a new responsibility. You want to take a lease, and you have to make sure that your taxes, that you make sure that you pay enough taxes that you can get a mortgage or whatever. So you're working something here through partnership, to get to the next commitment level, Saturn, to commit to a house or whatever. Or it might be that you're doing some business partnership here. That's important, and you have to make sure that you know all the details of finances, who is giving, who is taking, and if you're not happy, the existing conditions of especially of the giving and taking side. And the giving and taking side of the eighth house is not only about money. It can be how much are you giving in intimacy, in emotional support, in financial, emotional, spiritual, and physical support together, and how much you're receiving from them. So there might be some clarifying conversations, February, March, about such topics like, oh, I want you to help me more with the children, or with cleaning the house, or with I need more sex, or such kind of negotiations that might be going. This both seventh and eighth house are very relationship oriented. You see those first 4 or 5 months, they're very focused there, not to yourself alone, through others. Things are happening to others in your life that are directly affecting you, that are important for you. And instead of doing things alone, try to reach out to others, try to communicate with them. Mercury retrograde in the eighth house, and and then towards the second part of March, Mercury and Venus, for Venus moves into your seventh house. So it's like it's like this other people's side, your values with them, how much you give, receive, intimacy questions, some secrets. You might share some, and Mercury and Venus are positive, nice planets, but you might share some secrets. You might find some stuff that were buried, that one said, because it's a very emotional bonding house of deep intimacy, of opening your soul to others and revealing your secrets, feeling vulnerable. So you might be digging deep, or your partner, another person, for this one-on-one opening up. And if there is not willingness from the other side to meet you or from your side to meet another at the level or the new game, new rules of the game, or the level they want, they might truly be reevaluation of a relationships in March or April for you. That's very, very potent because April and March and April, Mercury and Venus continue to be retrograde into April, but now in Pisces, in your 7th house. And we're going to have here, and they conjunct Neptune and Saturn and the North Node during that retrograde period. So March, April, the end of March, April, huge event connected to relationships, huge. Or through others, life-changing, big important decision, clarifying conversations. And if you're not married or single, it can just be something, or maybe even Venus, Mercury retrograde in your 7th house, someone from the past can come back to restart, to renew, to re-examine a relationship. People you haven't seen for a while can come back. But yeah, for Virgos, it's like almost everything is coming from here, the 7th and 8th house. And 8th house is also your partner's family, by the way. There might be something there that you're reconnecting with them or going to see them, Mercury, Venus retrograde in the 8th house, or that there's some negotiations or some crisis you have to solve there, you know. And Venus and Mercury join Saturn in the last degrees of Pisces with Neptune and the North Node in March, towards the end of March, the beginning of April. So it all, and those last 5 degrees of Virgo feel it the most, 25 to 30 degrees. Actually, Venus in April turns direct at 24 degrees on the 12th of April, and Mercury turns direct on the 7th of April at 26 degrees. So those Virgos that are 23, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees of Virgo, even 30. Wow. So these are huge months to look out for. My brother is actually, his sun is at 23, 24 Virgo. Let's see, will he finally propose, or will they break up after 9 years, or will they have a baby? But something big there is happening. And there is this 8th house energy that we talked as well, with Mercury, Venus retrograde there, moving here. Some psychological healing can also happen. 8th house is very much connected to healing from psychological issues, maybe talk it out, talk it through. Retrograde planet wants to take off a burden, an emotional, psychological burden of some sort. But there's another 2 big events in March. We're still in March. Well, Mercury and Venus are retrograde here. Eclipses start. And the first eclipse is on the 14th, right about the time Mercury turns retrograde at 23 Virgo. Oh, my poor brother. 23 Virgo. It's a lunar eclipse. So the sun is in Pisces here. Oh, where all this crazy energies, everything. And the moon is around 23 degree Virgo. So if you're from 19 degree Virgo to 28, 9 again. So I'd say the last 10 degrees Virgo, March is crazy month for them, life-changing. Earlier Virgos from 0 to 20 degrees, they're kind of from 0 to 19 degrees, they're kind of left pretty safe. Still things are happening in the 7th house of relationships and eclipse in their 1st house, but it might not be so intense, you know. It's they have more ability to wriggle out. Well, those last 10 degrees, it's like fated. So eclipse happening here in Virgo on the, did I say the 14th? You might feel it a month before. You see why February, March, April so intense. And you might feel it a couple of months after that, this eclipse. So again, fated relationships, eclipse. And 1st house is you. The eclipse is with the South Node in Virgo. New roles in your life, or old roles, sorry, because it's a full moon eclipse, something coming to an end, or reaping the rewards of previous actions. South Node is the past, your previous actions. If you've done good stuff, and worked on something, certain project or whatever, or some efforts, you can see the results now. You can close a chapter and see the rewards and reap the rewards. Full moon is about harvest, harvesting. South Node is previous actions. But sometimes when we harvest, if we've done immoral things, the South Node, Ketu, is the most karmic point. You're reaping what you sow. And you know in your soul what you've sown. And you know in your soul, we're not always the best judges of our character, but I've had amazing things happen to me with South Node eclipses. Exactly on the South Node eclipse with the moon, I met my husband, for example, but that also meant that the same month I divorced my other husband. Okay, you're like, it's a mess here. So it can be crazy big shifts. Full moon eclipse with South Node can mean also giving up something, letting go of something. And it's much easier to let go of bad habits or unhealthy behaviors during that time. Virgo is connected to unhealthy habits, or even might have to give up some kind of a lifestyle in your first house or habit, or behavior that is no longer necessary. So this shedding of the skin that I talked about strongly activated February, March with the eclipse on the 14th, 15th, 14th. And of course, this eclipse is exactly opposite Mercury retrograde. Mercury, no, it's not. It's not opposite. It's exactly opposite Neptune and Saturn. So it's a very ascetic energy, Neptune and Saturn. So it's great to allow you to let go of something, or they might be even pushed to you from another. That's harsh, like an ultimatum, stop this behavior or do this, because this harsh energy from Neptune and Saturn from the 7th house that the eclipse activates, that is like something external influence is pushing you to change something. But again, consider this for good, because what do eclipses do? They want to realign us to the right path of our soul. So you are going to remove a layer or two of old skin with the South Node eclipse in your first house, of your old behaviors, personality, direction in life, or even some people might leave or whatever. Some behaviors, something might leave your life. Full moon eclipse with South Node. Or you might willingly, because it's in your first house, willingly let it go, sacrifice it, let it go, because there's an external pressure on you to do that. And because it might be for some because you want to appease a partner or someone important in your life, or because there is someone that is helping you with this externally, pushing you to be strong, the Saturn energy. So yeah, fascinating. And then there is another eclipse on the 29th. It's a solar eclipse. It's in your 9th house. It's in your 9th house. As the sun is here and the moon on the 29th. So you might feel it March and the next 3-4 months, which is showing this is the last eclipse, in your 8th house. The last eclipse in your 8th house. Some of you might have felt already this 8th house energy in 2024. Others might feel it the most in, the spring or March, April, as we're talking, with this eclipse in the 8th house. By that time, Mercury and Venus are in your 7th, but the eclipse is here. Again, new beginnings, and it's with the North Node, new beginnings connected to this 8th house. So maybe you revise something here, financially, tax, insurances, and now a new inspiration comes how you can do it, a new option for mortgage, a new option for intimacy, a new option. Eclipses in the 8th house can bring soulmates even in 7th and 8th house, especially the 8th. So there's a lot of energy that here comes, all being revised, removed, or talked with partners, mutual finance resources, their family involved, or you cleansing this area of relationships with others if you're single, getting rid of and because the retrograde planets there, Venus and Mercury, and then preparing the soil for something new intimacy, new that you create together. 8th house is what can you create together as a couple, new values, new whatever, something you do together. So this is new opportunity. Plus 8th house eclipse can be a breakthrough psychologically or through some trauma. I remember when there were eclipses with Rahu in my 8th house, I had a sudden healing of, like, sudden transformation and healing emotionally. And it was also a kind of an intimacy healing, because I was blocked intimately for many years, and then this new partner appears, I fall in love, and it's like it was a healing of so much trauma emotionally, and the healings that 8th house North Node eclipse give are fast. It's almost like a big shift in the psychological traumas and levels that get to the surface, and it's like a new shift of consciousness emotionally, psychologically. And 8th house is where some of the most serious diseases and illnesses stay. With the North Node activation there, you might have like a healing, like hope for miracles, and fast, because the 8th house is the chakra system as well. So when the chakra starts spinning fast, the eclipse can do that. There can be this powerful development there, energetically for you. But of course, the 8th house is also the house of pregnancy, death, rebirth. So yeah, in March, be a bit more cautious. Not that you'll die or anything, but it's like, don't go to risky places, if possible, around at the end of March during that eclipse. The themes of death, rebirth, or pregnancies can also be potent in your mind in some way. And of course, this solar eclipse with the North Node can bring an inheritance. And it happens fast, and Rahu is to gain something, or can bring you an opportunity to make new gains through others, or new sources of financial or emotional, psychological support for you that are new. Rahu is new. First, you revise the old ones with Venus, Mercury retrograde dead, and new ones come. Oh, a lot happening in March. And on the last day of March, so more towards April, the beginning, on 30th of March, Neptune is moving from your 7th house, where it's been for 14 years, opposing you, especially the last few degrees of Virgos. Those who are from 27 till 30, 26 till 30, the last couple of years might have felt very woozy, very unclear, very uncertain what's happening, where you're going, because Neptune dissolves all stability. Neptune dissolves all clarity, puts you in a bit of a fog, so you can learn to trust the higher power. All Virgos pass through that. Maybe they pass through much more passive phase in life as well, because source influences larger than themselves. Neptune, the god of nature and storms and the oceans, was directly opposing them. So you might have felt, some Virgos, for years that somehow the reins are not in your hands. It's outside of your will. Things are happening. You might have certain plans, but beyond you, there's things happening that are way more got, like, call it divine forces, call it whatever, fate, destiny, which is Neptunian terms, had other plans for you. So you had to learn to swim down the river rather than swim upstream, to go with the flow, let go and let go. But for Virgo, this is not the most natural state. Especially the later degrees, Virgo felt it strongly. And now Neptune is leaving your Virgo sign. No longer is it going to send its rays. Just the end of the year, for 2-3 months, it dips back into Pisces, just at the very last degree, 29th. But all other Virgos are getting much more clear in your head, but you can feel a very marked shift of more clarity that comes when Mercury moves away from opposing your sign. And clear-headedness. And Neptune is not gonna make a direct aspect unless you have planets in Libra. Then it's gonna oppose them. So they can become a lot of clarity about relationships, what you want with relationships. And Venus and Mercury gonna start turning direct in April, when Mercury moves into your 8th house, away from the 7th house. And in April, on the 7th and the 12th, Venus first turns direct, then Mercury. So you can gain a lot of clarity, and things really start settling in your relationships with others. And if you've been ambivalent in relationships, or partners have been ambivalent, or they've been hiding something, or they've been unclear, or they've been passive, or you've been putting someone on a pedestal and not being realistic about it, now it starts clarifying, and you really start seeing the real situation. And that's quite stabilizing, to be honest. because you might have felt for times that you can't really trust yourself when it comes to others, that you think one thing, but it turns out to be another thing. Because also Neptune with Saturn so close with it, the first 4 or 5 months of the year might feel like bubbles of illusions, a burst that you have about someone, an important other person in your life, marriage partner, business partner, someone you communicate, very close friend. So if there was something untruthful or dishonest or unrealistic that you projected on that, this all gets burst this first 4 or 5 months of the year, and you start seeing the situation clearly, and you start having a lot more clarity about such situations with others. And Saturn here, only Saturn remains for the April and May in your 7th house, together with Venus and Mercury, and especially the last 6 degrees again, the very important developments, because Venus and Mercury turn direct around 24, 26 degrees in Pisces, opposite Virgo. But what will Neptune, let's just talk, let's jump ahead for 14 years ahead, Neptune being in your 8th house. What would it bring there? Well, first of all, it doesn't directly affect you, so you'll be much more clear-headed. But second of all, yeah, you need to make sure that these are your mutual finances and finances with others, and you have to make sure that you are more level-headed there, because Neptune can make us, this is one of the financial houses, it definitely can make us much more psychic, because it's a spiritual, it's psychological house. It can help you heal traumas much faster, because Neptune melts old protective walls. But first, Saturn will pass the first 3 years there. So what I'm telling you now about Neptune in the 8th house is more valid from the year 2027, 2028 till 2039. I think it will be there till 14 years from now till 2030 something. Yeah, definitely till 2039. So what I'm talking about Neptune in the 8th house, I don't think you'll feel it straight away the next 2-3 years, because first Saturn is there, and Saturn is more potent influence. But you have to be aware that, and Saturn will help you build this more healthy, rational foundation there. But Neptune will gradually, over 14 years, dissolve your resistance and mistrust towards others. And it might be invited to enter into a very, in relationship where your finances are very involved, where your finances are very give and receive, basically. How do I say, like, when there is no boundaries between giving and receiving. I've just had Neptune for 14 years in the 8th house from my moon sign. And these were years during, you don't see immediately the influence, but when you turn back, when it's exiting, you realize it. And there was no mine and yours. It was like, what's mine is yours. Neptune dissolved such resistance for me. And it was, sometimes I had to receive help, and Neptune miraculously can allow you to receive help with others, because Neptune dissolves boundaries and blocks, especially because 8th house, the house of exchange you have with the universe energetically, and how you receive and how you give your energy to others and the universe and what you get back from it. And if you've had some blockages there, especially after 2028 onwards, when Saturn leaves, you'd feel how it starts becoming more magical. When you need help, it will come exactly other people's resources, moral, spiritual support, but also you won't have boundaries to give help to others. So this was a period I magically saw how I needed to start my business. I didn't have money even to get my astrology software. A friend comes in and offers me this. She said, just come and stay there. When I sign some papers, I need a witness and I want to pay you for that, or something like that, you know, out of the blue. Things would come when I needed most support. Magically, Neptune is magical energy. You receive it. Neptune is how God works in our life through his unconditional, her unconditional love, very feminine energy. And you'll see magic coming to you through others and their support, unconditional support, spiritually, emotionally, financially, through others. It can dissolve boundaries that you have in intimacy in life, in your ability to connect with others on a deep level. It can make you penetrate another with them, feel intuitively how they feel, and do this merging where you and me, there is no boundaries. This sounds great, but first Saturn will go there. So I'll tell you exactly the opposite when we go to Saturn going in Aries. So keep in mind, this is more far away influence for the next 14 years rather than just the immediate next 2-3 years. But you might start feeling it if you are more psychically. There can be this merging of assets with another, merging of priorities as well, and dissolving of your values, my values, but as well, there is a danger there. You have to be careful not to lose your assets to another, because Neptune law of vibration has this energy of deception, of loss. And if you're too tightly, if you're, and for me, Neptune, because before Neptune transited my 8th house, my dream was that I marry a husband who will support me financially. I'll be a stay-at-home mom. And God said, Neptune transiting your 8th house of mutual finances. This was dissolved for me. I would receive magical help from others when you needed it, but never like, oh, someone that, wealthy, whatever. If anything, it dissolved this ideas for me. For you, might be the opposite, that you receive constant help. And for me, it was actually, I was giving away and I was supporting my partners, and which for me, it was fine. I was okay with that. Depends how you feel about it. But this idea that I had that, it dissolved it. And really now I don't think mine, yours with my partner, it's all mutual. But also you have to be careful not to get conned, because this is other people's resources. And you're more susceptible, especially if you have planets, for example, in Libra, where it's your 2nd house of money. If you have planets in Cancer or Capricorn, where Neptune will square them at some point in the next 14 years, you have to be careful not to have some kind of a financial being misled. Someone tells you put money here, or partner hiding, or not just financially. You have to be cautious financially, but also losing money through others, or others tempting you like, oh, this get rich quick situation or whatever, business partnership that you're not aware, because Neptune can pull the wool over our eyes to see what the partner's been spending or doing. But somehow Saturn over the next 3 years will not allow that, because Saturn will, if there's such financial or emotional things where you're giving too much, or where someone is taking away from you more, Saturn will burst this bubble, because first Saturn will be with Neptune in your 8th house. And after that, I think this is great, because for the next 11 years after that, will be much more responsible and not as trusting, or much more, let's say, will have a good and better foundation there. So you might discover over the next couple of years with Saturn and Neptune, there's some someone not giving enough, or you might be called out on if maybe you're not giving enough of love, of sex, of or your partner, such kind of, you need to rearrange such things, contributing financially or emotionally or psychologically into the bond, into the intimacy, and so on. But such themes will be very important. Sex, intimacy for 14 years ahead with Neptune in your 8th house, and Neptune will dissolve and allow healing there as well. Or if you have mistrust issues, especially after 2027, 28, when Saturn leaves there, you'll be able to bond, with the trust, and to be much more clear, what is yours, what is mine, and so on. But one piece of advice: when Neptune is in the 8th house, try to be clear about what are responsibility yours and those of your partners or business partners or friends or someone that you're very like that sharing stuff with. Try to have clear boundaries, so you don't have some kind of, don't be ambivalent. But you might be called to be more giving during that time, definitely, because Neptune is a very giving planet, but at the same time, you'll receive magically as well. Psychologically, as I said, it can be a big emotional, long-drawn emotional healing process of 14 years that gradually heals. And especially if you have some traumas about mistrust with others, where you were abused, where you were taken advantage of, where you were taken for your trust was misused, Neptune can help you heal it, because Neptune is forgiving and unconditional love planet, and happens slowly and gradually. And Neptune, and for me, that was the period with Neptune in my 8th house from Moon. It's a very long period, 14 years, but that's when I created my abundance in life. Before that, I was always lacking, because I learned to trust the universe and open myself to it. And I learned, and I said, I need to give before I receive. So I was giving a lot. And Neptune gives unconditionally. So if you have blockages with receiving, if you have blockages with abundance, Neptune will teach over the next 14 years. And if you're willing to open yourself, to be trusting, but also not to be a fool where you're taken advantage of, but sometimes those things happen. And if you're able to forgive and let go and still give unconditionally without expecting something back, this is when my abundance blossom. It's incredible abundance from others, giving, investing, loving my products, whatever. So I know, like, I'm a miracle maker now when it comes to finances from others, from clients, and so on. So yeah, this can have a very positive influence long term, this ability to open yourself to the universe, because you're willing to give, but you're also willing to receive, and you learn to receive as well. So that's Neptune in the 8th house, how it can play out on different levels. Yeah, I'm very unclear about our finances for the last 14 years. I mean, but I don't look at taxes, don't do. If anything, when Neptune is in your 8th house, if you can have a good accountant who can do your finances, because you might miss details there. And Saturn will teach you how to put more control on those mutual finances and so on. So, but we'll get to it in a little bit. So that's Neptune in 8th house. That's April. This is March. We continue on to April in a second. Moving into April, on the 7th of April, Mercury turns direct in Pisces at 26 degrees Pisces on the 7th. And Venus turns direct at 24 degrees Pisces on the 12th. So those first 2 weeks, after them, you start seeing if there were any complications in relationships. They start clarifying. The relationship might have improved. You might have taken some very important decisions regarding contracts, agreements, relationship with others. Some big change might have happened in the life of your partner, and things start settling. But Venus and Mercury turn direct together with Saturn. They conjunct Saturn pretty much the whole of the time. So some important decision will be taken, some important developments that you see into April. This is very, very powerful, but it starts becoming easier and clear where you're heading, what is happening, their contracts, agreements, and those 22 to 30 degrees are the most pivotal of Virgo, that they feel those big changes in their life, direction of change, and it's clarifications, and or maybe some of you might have been working on something together with a collaborator or a partner or another person, and you start seeing the second part of April, the results of this. Things start clarifying and moving forward, or important changes in your partner's life have taken, and things are settling down the second part of April, let's say that, and some decision has been made. And the end of April, Saturn, on the 21st of April, Saturn joins with the North Node. You see, so much action now in your 7th house, the whole April. With the North Node, this can be a commitment to a new level in relationship, big change again. It continues the whole April. What can I say? It's all happening there. Some new energy coming to you through others, Rahu, North Node, maybe some contract or commitment you take together with another person as well, or some big shifts through others. Again, the later degrees of Virgo feel it the most. The earlier, they're kind of, might feel it, some might not feel it, But yeah, any complications, they start improving and moving forward and so on. And then in May, we have so kind of this big action packed changes in direction and so on. In May subside, it becomes calmer in May, but Saturn changes sign at the end of May and moves where everything else is. And that's on 24th of May. Saturn will move into your 8th house. And in July, it will join Neptune, but the whole, I would say, pretty much June, July, August, they are together within 1 degree, less than on the last degrees of air, on the last degrees of, on the first degrees of Aries. So that will be in your 8th house. Those 8th house topics, you might start feeling them more and more. And let's talk generally how Saturn, and Saturn has been in your 7th house for 2.5 years, opposing you. And especially in 2025, it's opposing the last degrees from I think something from 20 or 13, it's from the beginning of the year, from 13 degrees Virgo to 30 degrees. So the last 15 degrees of Virgo get the Saturn opposition. So those last 13 degrees, they feel this first 5 months of the year of 2025, Saturnian influence very strongly. They might be Saturnian influence, might be about slowing down, a bit of delays, clarifying relationships, putting boundaries there, which Neptune dissolved over years, and clarifying to yourself what it is important to you from others, also working hard on something. If it's your sun in Virgo, for example, Saturn opposing you, those last 15 degrees will feel it. And especially the last, Saturn is from 25, 24 degrees. Saturn comes back to them again at the end of the year. So the last 5 degrees, 6 degrees of Virgo again, 5 in particular, they feel pretty much the whole of the year Saturn intensely. First till the end of May, and then again from September, the last 5 degrees from 25 till 30. They feel the Saturn opposition. And Saturnian lessons, they are about slowing down, taking extra responsibilities with others or through others, might even create some problems in relationships because Saturn shows you what's not working well. Or maybe your partner might be very busy and hardworking. Like I'm looking at my brother's Virgo, who's those degrees, his partner, exactly those, this period now, has been having to study and work very hard. And it's not so much joy and let's have fun in the relationship. It's more like having to support the partner through their, through some hard work that they're doing here. They're taking something seriously, and the partner is putting, and that's also might put a bit of strain on you. You might feel, if you're single, whatever, you might feel some influence from others, that from external source, that's pressurizing you to be more organized, to be more responsible, to be more hardworking, to be more accountable, putting some deadlines on you, putting some ultimatums on you. I remember when Saturn was opposing my sign, which for you, Virgos, especially the last 10 degrees, let's say, still 2025 is very valid. I remember my partner then was very hard on me because I was trying to start business, but I knew nothing about business. And Saturn is a teacher, but like a hard teacher. So he was like giving me a program, you'll do this, you'll do that. So, and I would cry and I said, I don't want to do it. But an external force was pushing me to learn those Saturnian lessons of responsibility, of structure, of organizations. Virgos are usually quite well attuned to Saturn because Virgo is a structured, organized, earthy sign. So is Saturn. So I think Virgos actually go, even if they feel a bit more dull or like more monotonous every day, because there's some extra duties and responsibilities involved when Saturn is around, they do a lot of very good work. They're very organized around that time. They respond well to the lessons of Saturn. And it's this call for the last 10 degrees Virgos to structure, organize themselves, to, to be more responsible overall. But some external authority as well might be opposing you, and things can be moving a bit slower. Sometimes a person feels they're a bit more stuck. But Saturn moves out in May. the end of May, into your 8th house. So it's no longer opposing you, Virgos. So you feel relief almost till September, most Virgos. And then after September, only the last 5 degrees of Virgo will feel Saturn again. But it's like Neptune has moved away from your sign already. And by the end of May, Saturn moves away. So you feel this lightening up of energy. It's heavy energy, Saturn. And you feel like, your partner might have more free time to have fun with you. Your partner might, if there was difficulties there, the relationship might improve, or maybe you move into calmer water when it comes. And generally you feel higher vibration. If you've had some health issues, if you've had some issues connected to any Saturnian conditions which are more chronic or which are more whatever it might be, they start easing off and lightening up. So the summer of 2025, I think Virgos will feel much better, even though South Node continues to be in your sign, and helping you take things easier as well, to release a lot of the old. But how will Saturn in the 8th house affect you, Virgos? And Saturn will be only 3 months in your 8th house in 2025, June, July, and August, and then comes back to the 7th, but then it moves 2026 fully into your 8th house. So this is valid for you not only for 25, but also for 26 and 27, what I'm talking about Saturn in the 8th house. I think that's good because it will help you because it will be there with Neptune to first put like a stable foundation in this 8th house, in connection to your mutual finances, resources, in connection to organize your taxes, insurances, and so on. Because Saturn there is organized and does good work wherever it goes to streamline your mutual finances. But it can put some pressure on the intimacy. If it was only Neptune there, Neptune really opens the intimacy, the give and take with another person, plus the energy of giving and receiving from the universe. But when Saturn is there as well, it can make it a bit stop and go energy, but it's necessary because Saturn wants to clean up whatever it is, so Neptune can act on a clean slate after that. And it can be, I've been having Saturn in the 8th with Neptune for the last 2 years. It's, unless you have some planets that Saturn will aspect from there, like planets in Libra, in Capricorn or Cancer, it doesn't have to be financial problems with a partner. It can, or some intimacy issues, but definitely Saturn can dry out a little bit sometimes the intimate life, possibly because of some responsibilities and possibly because of children. Saturn rules your 5th house. So something big happens through relationships, but there is some new responsibility very likely that comes Saturn with the North Node. And then it's like you have to have, and Saturn will help you have very clear defined roles. If it comes to a business partnership or relationship, what are your responsibilities? What is the partner's responsibility? So this is what Saturn will demand from you. And to put more boundaries, say, okay, I want you to do the cleaning, or I want you to contribute this much, or this is what you do because of some new responsibility that you take together. It might be connected to children, or might be connected to some business as well. It might be connected to work. Saturn rules the 6th house as well, that those roles of who does what needs to be redefined, and Saturn will help that. Also, you might be asked to re-examine where you're giving too much, and not receiving enough. So those themes, again, you see this whole year, such themes are very important. It can be also time of working with a psychologist for 2-3 years, or you can have really big, important progress, because 8th house is the house of traumas, locked emotions, and Saturn would like there to clean. Saturn is the cleaner, to clean up the dirt. So sometimes there's some painful emotions that you have to re-experience, that you have to become aware of, analyze deeply to get to the bottom and to the root of it, and hopefully release them by 2027 when Saturn starts leaving your 8th house. but it's a slow process. And then only Neptune will do its magic in your 8th house. Remember, when Saturn moves to your 9th, and then Neptune will really allow the flow of give and receive and miracle happenings and the flow of the chakras and feeling in flow to flow very naturally, in a sense, and healing the emotions so they don't get stuck and stagnant, and to forgive and to release and to heal. Saturn in the 8th house can also require you to be very particular about things when it comes to taxes, because if you're doing something dodgy, there can be repercussions. Saturn is the planet of repercussions. So if you're doing something, or there might be something that you're working towards with a partner, for example, to save for something. So it requires you hard efforts there, Saturn. So you decide to buy a house, so you need to save or mortgage or repair, and you have to be more organized with your finances or for something, or maybe because of a business, so you want to do together something, you know. That Saturn will help you have a much more practical head on there. And sometimes 8th house, of course, being the house of death and rebirths, it's in rare occasions, but it's house of transformations, powerful transformations. And Saturn rules your 5th house and 6th house. So 6th house can be work related, where Saturn is the death of certain work and duties and responsibilities, and the rebirth of new such long-term duties and responsibilities, because 8th house is transformation. So whatever we put there transforms, dies, and it's reborn. So it might be with work, or it might be also some, and it's actually a very good yoga. In ancient astrology, we say when the ruler of a difficult house is in another difficult house. They're called Dustana houses, the 6th, 8th, and 12th. And you're going to have for 2-3 years ahead, the ruler of the 6th in the 8th. The 6th is the house of problems, even health problems or death. The house of difficult past karma as well, going and problems that you have to deal with. Going into the 8th house, which is breaks them apart. So it can be the destruction of that, which is good, the destruction of an illness, the destruction of, so actually they say, yeah, those themes can come up, but you overcome them. It's like you transform those problematic things of the 6th house, which is what Saturn rules for you. The distraction of debt is to somehow over the next 2-3 years to become debt free without a debt, debt, you know, or some health problem, to take it and to dismantle it, you know, and to transform it, or some other problem or duty or responsibility that you've been dragging that is transformed and changes in a big way. That's another way Saturn in the 8th house can play out. Yeah, so that's, but sometimes, you know, being 8th house, in rare occasions, but I have to mention it, sometimes they can be the grieving of something. And Saturn kind of slows down the shock, but allows you, gives you 2.5, 3 years to process feelings connected to grieving, because it's something about something, and I cannot say if it's death of a person, or, but sometimes it can be the grieving of not necessarily a person, but of something, of some shock or surprise that comes. And then this 2.5, 3 year period is when you process the feelings slowly. And that's a good thing when Saturn is in the 8th house, because sometimes when the feelings are too strong, Saturn slows them down and allows you to piece by piece deconstruct and process them. Otherwise, it can be too detrimental for like a breakdown of an ego fully. But definitely when Saturn transits the 8th house, there is always breakdown of ego. In ancient astrology, the ego is Saturn. It's not the sun, because the sun is your true authentic, your most authentic true spirit spark. Saturn is the opposite planet of the sun, the one furthest away visible in our solar system, is what we call in Western astrology the ego, the personality that fears, that is attached to the past, to the material, that is afraid of dying, that wants to what is familiar, what is known, what is, what is feels like, even if you're stuck in a bad situation with bad habit, in bad relationship, bad careers, but it feels familiar, so the ego holds on to it and creates this huge fear. And when Saturn transits the 8th house, this ego gets put into the typhoon of the 8th house. This is the energy of the 8th house. Gets put in there and deconstructed. But because Saturn has a bit of a slowing down energy, this dismantling of the ego happens a bit more gradually, so you can process this rather than as a shock. And sometimes a person can be shell shocked. That's why I always say, when people saying, oh, it's hard emotionally, I'm feeling this old part of me is dying, or someone has passed away and I'm grieving, or this whole big part of me is dying, there's a lot of fears that come to the surface. And I'm saying it's good. Saturn is slowing down this process, but it's also doing this deep ego transformations. And when Saturn moves out of your 8th house, for you, it will be 2027 towards the end, something like that. You come out like a reborn person. You come out so much lighter, and you've shed off so much emotional and psychological fears, burden, baggage. So it's like a cleanse, deep cleanse, but gradual and slow, of your deep fears, deep obsessions, deep behaviors that are of the ego, so to speak. So deep spiritual work, as I said, for me, it's been working with a psychologist and so on, and slowly, gradually trying to find the healthy parts of me and seeing my shadow, but deconstructing it and so on. So and for people that are into astrology, 8th house is astrology, psychology, any kind of such knowledge which is about bringing deep awareness of your processes, of the deep reasons how you behave. This can be a period of deep introspection. And in 2025, it's just for about 3 months, but it will come back again in full force in 2026 and 2027. Deep introspection, learning a lot about astrology. That's actually, I've found the best astrological knowledge I've gained as with Saturn in the 8th house, psychological, astrological, all those deep processes. You can also, fear of death is very powerful when Saturn is there. And you learn to confront this fear by reading about life after death stories. So you can become, if you do those things consciously, it really is like remedy. If you're naturally drawn to the occult, to astrology, to psychology, to self-analysis, to learning about those deep questions. And I also dig deep into conspiracies. Saturn really, 8th house is conspiracies and all those things, but not necessarily that they're fake. It's conspiracies. You're finding the darker side of life, that it exists, confronting the shadow, working through it, accepting it. And after that, you're so much stronger, emotionally resilient. Even though sometimes people say, what's the point of Saturn in the 8th house? It feels emotionally heavy, this shadow work you're doing. And I said, because you stop being afraid of the shadow, because you need to accept it. And that's the slow process of acceptance that Saturn does. The high vibration of Saturn is acceptance, to be okay with the things you cannot change, or the things that exist, that it's there. And this acceptance makes the magic. So there'll be this acceptance there. And again, it might be that it's a bit more, those 2-3 years ahead with Saturn there requires you to be more organized with your finances, because it's aspecting your 2nd house, to be more responsible, maybe together with a partner, to be more financially, work together, to rebudget, to refinance, or towards a common goal, or towards some kind of responsibility that you're taking together. Or it might be that you might feel that there's some limitations financially as well. But that's again about teaching to where to put the barriers in trust. And usually this is, like, I had a friend who's just passing through Saturn in the 8th house from her ascendant, and her husband was not making as much money, but was always making enough. And she was worried a lot about that. And she said that she realized it was a period where she had to learn to trust again, despite of her fears that she felt. And coming out of the Saturn in the 8th house, she says, like, I feel so much more emotionally resilient. We made some important decisions. We cut back on certain expenses. We organize ourselves in a different way. They decided to live in a cheaper place, cheaper country as well. So there might be such kind of decisions that you take. And she's very happy with the decisions they have taken. All right. So this is Saturn in the 8th house in May. For 3 months, you feel it. Now we go to June. The big events in June is Jupiter. Let's raise the vibration here. Let's talk about a much nicer planet. Jupiter is the planet of growth and expansion. Since June 2024 until June 2025, pretty much a whole year, Jupiter is in your 10th house. So the first 5 months of 2025, well, Saturn is working here in your 7th house. You know, Mars in your 11th, Jupiter is working through your 10th house. So this is the good news, especially if you're Virgo rising. Also Sun and Moon to a lesser degree, but still they can feel this expansion and new opportunities in regards to their career. But it's not going to be as big as normally Jupiter can give, because Jupiter cannot have this breadth of expansion in Gemini as it normally has in signs where it feels more natural. Plus Saturn is squaring Jupiter pretty much a big part of the first part of the year. So, but there will be new opportunities opening for you in regards to career, in regards to Jupiter. The 10th house is your highest achievements. So you might be working on some project or whatever where you're more public, or on some business or the structure of the business, and you can expand the sort of business. Plus Jupiter is protecting your finances those first 5 months, making a trine to your 2nd house, making a trine to your 6th house of work. So the first 6 months are very auspicious for any kind of work, any kind of career matters, any kind of growth there, and new opportunities, renewal. Jupiter's energy is renewal of your career. If you get offers from companies, or you might get to a better position, better boss can appear, or you can expand your own business. Your vision for the business can become bigger, and learn how to rule it better. Plus Jupiter is a fertile position in the 10th house, interesting enough. Ancient texts say Jupiter in the 10th house can make connection to children and so on. And remember, there's strong activation of the 8th house of conceptions. So just throwing this out there for those of you interested. But yeah, I remember I had Jupiter in my 10th house, and work was going wonderful, so smoothly, and I came up with new ideas. Actually, that's exactly when Jupiter was transiting my 10th house from the ascendant, was the first year when I got the idea and for you, this idea can come to you from another, because Jupiter rules your 7th house, or someone else can bring it, or in a collaboration with another, or with your partner in some way as well. But partnerships can really contribute to your career, or someone else, help from another can contribute, or through a partner, your social status can change for the better in some way, social status, how you're seen in the eyes of society. But for me, when Jupiter was there, I came up with the idea to do those yearly horoscopes. And I was like, no, I'll probably buy them. I don't know, but like, okay, I'll try it. And it was 2018 that happened. It's been 6 years I've been doing them now. 6 or 7 years, that's my 7th year. So something that you start in regards to your career when Jupiter is in the 10th house will keep giving for the next 12 years. So it might not be a new job always, or new career, but it might be a new project as well. So for me, that's how it played out. And I had a daughter. When Jupiter was in the 10th house from my son, my work was going really well from the sun. So the whole year got to another level and continued to do projects. So yeah, that's one way it can play out. So I wish it for you, but things should improve when it comes to those material things. And then from June the 9th, Jupiter moves into Cancer, Mars, and will stay there for the next whole year till July 2026. So from June 2025 till July 2026, Jupiter moves into the 11th house, where it's its favorite house, according to ancient astrology, because this is the house of gains and rewards. So if you've done some good work here for your business structure, for your work, if you came up with some good idea and renewed something, expanded, now you're going to reap the rewards financially. It was the best financial year for me when Jupiter was in the 11th, the best. It's like doubled what I usually make. And it's kind of can unlock, and Jupiter gives you the green light for more gains, but you need to do the Jupiter first, the expansion, to the opportunity here. Jupiter will bring it, you grab it, and then you'll see the gains from it. So you can have more material gains. You can reach out more people. Remember that at the beginning of the year, the first 3 months, Mars was working through your 11th house. And Mars also likes this 11th house. But there might have been some complications because it's Mars, it's not an easy planet. Now just Jupiter will be there, and Jupiter is strongest in Cancer. First of all, its favorite house is the 11th house, and its favorite sign of exaltation is Cancer. Interesting, huh? Very powerful impact for you in the 11th house. It can manifest like some title or honor you get, like PhD or whatever, a doctor, or this is when my viewership expanded, doubled with Jupiter in the 11th house. So if you're in business, these are your followers, these are your clients, these are how quickly your ideas and projects spread. So this is your social media as well. You can reach out and connect with a lot more people. Jupiter brings those opportunities. I wasn't even looking for them. It happened organically. It happened, and I gained a lot of knowledge about what people like, and I felt like I knew what it is that people really, what are the trends? The 11th house rules the social trends, what's going in the markets, what is that people want, what it is, and you're very aware. Jupiter is knowledge, almost intuitive knowledge, understanding what is like now, what are the trends, where is society going towards, very aligned to the future as well. 11th house is future oriented, what's coming. And this insight into the future and what's coming, and what you have your pulse on you have your fingers on the pulse of society, can create a lot of gains or opportunities for you. And the 11th house is also the house of dreams and wishes. So from the middle of 2025 till 2026, the middle, can a big dream of yours get fulfilled? And you don't have to even do it alone, because Jupiter rules your 7th house. Pisces, going in the 11th, you can fulfill a goal or a dream of yours together with a partner. It's also being in the opposite sign of your 5th house. It's also very fertile period if anyone is interested in pregnancies. And of course, you had an eclipse in the 8th house. But there is this activation here. And Jupiter can make you fulfill a long-term goal or dream, or work on some big project that will impact large people, groups. It's very good for business. It's very good to expand your influence. It's very good to be more popular and make connections, to make new friends. When Jupiter was in the 11th house from my sun, together with Saturn, but still, I met a new group of like ready-made package of friends. They just, they just came to me. And I've been having them ever since, and we've been collaborating. I can't say they're like my best friends, but I definitely became much more social. I felt accepted. I had new friends, like 6 at the same time, and they welcomed me in their group, and we're still friends 5 years later, 4 years later. That's from my sun when it passed. So you can find your tribe where you belong. And you see, for Virgos, Cancer, the sign of home, where they feel happy, where they feel connected. The most connected sign is in the 11th house of friendships. So if Virgo finds their tribe, they really thrive emotionally. They feel happy emotionally. And Jupiter will allow you to find those soulmate friends now, those tribe, and one or people that will appear, new people in your life that are beneficial for you. And you might not immediately see what you're going to do with them, but this is a 12-year cycle of Jupiter till it comes back to your 11th house. And so from mid of 2025 to mid 2026, the people that you meet, that you enter your social circle or whatever. And now actually I have Jupiter in the 11th house from my moon. Funny. And it's true, this last 1 year, I met 5 or 6 new friends through my kids' school, because it's in the 5th from the ascendant. And I feel so socially happy. I mean, like, I feel like I belong, and I know these will be friendships for a long time. But what I said, like, when I met those friends, when it was transiting 11 from my ascendant, from my sun, it took me 2-3 years later that we started doing stuff together, collaborating, having, you know, and those will stay for many years ahead in my life because we're connected now. So this is, you can find your tribe, and you can find like-minded people that you learn how to make money over the next 12 years with, that can bring opportunities for you, and not just material, but psychological and emotional opportunities. So the second part of the year and the first part of 2026 is when you connect with people that have healing influence for you. Plus, don't forget that the North Node is in your 7th house from the beginning of the year. As I said, when North Node is in the 7th house, you can meet a lot of new people, and Jupiter and North Node will be in a trine. And those new people will be, and Saturn moves away from the 7th house for 3 months. So you become much more social. And because both my brother and his girlfriend are both Virgos, so I've been seeing them in the last 2 years since Saturn's been in their 7th. They've been both so busy, they have no time to socialize, to have fun. There's been like also Saturnian themes in their relationship, work, studies, building a house together, all taking new responsibilities. But they did great stuff with Saturn in the 7th house. Very, like, they set up the foundation of their future relationship, the material base, the house, the doing their degrees now. He finished, she's just finishing, but she's studying like from morning till evening, and they barely can go out or have social life or fun together as a couple. And then 2025, Saturn for 3 months leaves the 7th house, but Jupiter is already in a social house for friendships, making trine to your 7th house. The North Node is there, your relationships start to improve June, July, August. And Jupiter will basically be in the first 25 degrees in 2025. The last 5 degrees of Virgo from 25 to 30 might have to wait a little bit, but the first 25 degrees, they feel it directly on their relationships. Appearing of new interesting people or partner in their life is possible. Next chapter in their relationship, transformation through relationship. And Rahu there, when Rahu was in my 7th house, and Jupiter was trining it from the 11th. It happened in the same time, but they were in fire signs for me. This is the same time when I also, that was my most gains, when I gained the most followers. And I connected with the best business partners for me, that some of the best astrologers, partnerships, collaborations, 7th house, 11th house came to me, like Victor, like Natalia Kubilkina, like I found some of the best, and Nikola Stojanovic at that time, some of the best ones. And that year, some of the best partnership came, it exploded financially, everything. So, and I also met a lot of famous people. Rahu in the 7th house can bring you people that were very different than you normally. And Rahu is like those that are ambitious in the world, and kind of became well known in the society in Bulgaria, which no one knew me before, through those people. So you see connections. This is make connections, reach out. The second part of the year and the first part of 2026, the first 6 months. This is when through others, you're able to help you achieve your long-term goals and wishes. You can make partnerships, connections, personal or business or emotional. That will be beneficial. That will help you grow. That will be expansive for you. You can find a crowd where you connect, especially if your moon is in Virgo and the Jupiter is in the 11th from your moon. You feel emotional joy from connections from the second part. You become more social. This is where the meaning and the joy comes in your life from. All right, this is the 11th house. Jupiter, blessings, rewards. I love Jupiter in the 11th house. It's truly always some of the best times, whether they pass through my sun, moon, or ascendant. And because I love connecting with people. The rest of the time when Jupiter is not in those social houses, I'm more like a hermit. But this is when, you know, where the spark comes back through others and fulfilling some long-term goal, dream, gains, and so on. Of course, Jupiter will be squared from Saturn in Aries. So especially in June, you might not still feel it yet because it's first the square, but after that, the square goes away. So all those from July in particular, you might start feeling the really good Jupiter things onwards, July, August, September. I started feeling it from September, and Jupiter entered in my 11th in June, the end of May. So 3 months later, almost 3 months later, I started feeling it, but it comes gradually, and I've been the happiest I've ever been. Now in July, we have another big astrological event. Uranus is moving from your 9th house, where it's been for you for the last 7 years, since 2018, is moving into your 10th house. That would be the most potent aspect for you for 7 years transit. Because you see, now Pluto is no longer aspecting Jupiter from Aquarius. It's in your 6th house, but it's not aspecting it. Saturn has, you know, the first 5 months is aspecting the last degrees of Virgo. And then the last 3 months of the year is aspecting the last 5 degrees of Virgo. But then Neptune moves into Aries, stops aspecting Virgo. So Neptune and Pluto are out of the picture pretty much for you, for direct influence. This is not a direct aspect. This is quincunx, whatever, but you don't feel it. It's very subtle. So the only direct aspect of the 3 outer planets, Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, you're going to feel, especially in the summer, because you'll have Uranus in July, August, September till November, will be through Uranus, but then from 2026, full time, you only feel Uranus mostly. You only feel Uranus mostly, unless you have planets, you know, that Neptune is aspecting directly or whatever. But since we're talking about Virgo, Uranus becomes the dominant energy. It's a wake-up time, awakening of your energy, of your Kundalini. Uranus directly affects the Kundalini, the life force, to feel electrified, to feel alive, to feel charged. I love Uranus, but it's going to be squaring Virgo. And speaking just about the first 2 degrees of Virgo, because Uranus only gets till the first 2 degrees in Gemini, let's say till 3. Only the very, very early Virgos will feel Uranus this year, sometime from July till November. So July, August, September, October, for about 4 months. For about 4 months, the first 2 degrees of Virgo will feel North Node. Sorry, my mind will feel Uranus. That's a waking up energy. That's invigoration, exhilaration, awakening to new realities, but it can feel disruptive. Because Uranus suddenly changes. Say if you have your sun in the first 2 degrees of Virgo, it can suddenly change your career or who you are, who you perceive yourself to be. You can change your outlook on life, what your dreams are, because the sun is the vision we have of our life. It can change what you want to achieve, sudden big shifts with important men in your life. With your ascendant sign Virgo in the first 2-3 degrees, Uranus can affect relationships. I had Uranus square my ascendant a few years ago, and I broke up 2 or 3 very important partnerships in that time. But it wasn't, for me, it wasn't my partnership, my relationship with my husband was great, but we did quite a few changes during that 1 year. traveling and stuff. You need to do movement if you want to keep a relationship stable with Uranus. You need to travel together. I had a friend who, when Uranus squared her ascendant, because it's the relationship axis, her partner had to live in Singapore and she had to relocate alone to Australia with all her kids. And they were like seeing each other once every 3 months for a year, on-off energy. Or it might, if you're in a relationship that is no longer positive, especially the ascendant or moon in Virgo, the first 2-3 degrees, Uranus can end it, and it ends fast. Maybe someone else appears new, because Uranus brings a lot of new energy. But for me, it was, if you're in a strong relationship, maybe there's something that your partner has to be away, or you have to be away, or you're kind of more busy, or you're doing some changes. Or for me, it played out that I ended business partnerships. Suddenly they left, you know, they were, okay, doesn't have to be bad, like they did to do their own things, but some kind of clients or relationships or contracts can suddenly end, the new ones can enter your life. But Uranus, and with moon in the first 2-3 degrees of Virgo, you might be changing place of living. I'm having now Uranus opposition my moon. Oh, we've been moving back and forth. Well, for other later Virgos, they'll feel Uranus the later years, but those first 2-3 degrees, life-changing, starting from 2025, from the second part. But let's speak generally about Uranus in the 10th house for all Virgos now. Whether your sun, moon, or rising, Uranus will be in your 10th house. Till now, for 7-8 years, Uranus was trining Virgo, but now it's going to square it. Big change, Uranus, in career. Some Virgos in the next 7-8 years might be called to make a big shift in their career in regards to brand new area of life, brand new career direction, for example. And it might be very much Uranian in nature, something to do with technology, with cutting edge technology, something alternative, something to do with the social media, something to do with innovation, something to do with social matters or social big projects, which is Uranian, or science or technology. Uranus in the 10th house can also, I'm born with Uranus in the 10th house. So if you're not in a Uranian field, which is alternative, Uranus rules anything new age, astrology, anything to do with science, systems, programming, for example, or if you're not a neurosurgeon, if you're in such careers, big boom, big success with Uranus there. You might find you're really, and if you're not in the right career, Uranus is all about authenticity. It cannot stand untruth. Uranus will help you really find what it is you want to do over the next 7 years at some point. What is it, the authentic career for you? Because 10th house is career, or what we're here for. You might discover that my authentic career is to be a stay-at-home mother. You know, that's what we give. That is our highest mission, basically, vocation. It doesn't have to be something in career always, but you would find something that feels much more truthful to you. And if you're in a career that is no longer valid for you, believe me, there is no way you can stay in it. And Uranus will very much, over the next 7 years, digitize your career, or bring in new technologies and bring in social medias and all Uranians methods. And you'll be the one getting on those new trends that can help your career, that can help your vocation. You'll be the first one smelling them out, because Uranus is very tuned into the collective and the collective trends. And you'll be like, oh, there's this new app, and if I integrate it, or this new social media, which there'll be so many over the next years, like Facebook, YouTube, Google, all those will become outdated over the next 7 years, because Uranus goes into Gemini. This is all social media apps, technology. Uranus will bring it to the next level. There'll be new ones, and you'll be the first one to know which one they are. And and you have to listen to this instinct, because you'll be very good about it. Because Uranus is in your 10th house, and go on that wagon, go on that train or whatever. And new technologies, new transportation, any such career, you can really take off. You can take off if you're in an authentic career. If it's truly Uranus, when you grow, it doesn't grow gradually. It's like some of the biggest growth in your career can be now. And Uranus career changes, they're fast, quick, and you can become like so high up suddenly. If you're not in the right one, it's so down suddenly. Crash, and then you have to discover your authentic, career direction, vocation. You will. And Pluto is in your sixth house of work till 2045, truly making a trine the next 5 years to Uranus till the end of 2029. So you have such an amazing here. The good thing is, so the first part of the year, Jupiter is in your 10th house, helping with career. Okay. Like giving clarity what you want to do. Wisdom, knowledge, learning maybe about that. And then the second part of the year, July, August, September to November, Uranus comes, and then 2026 fully enters your 10th house, and Pluto is in your 6th house, making a trine constantly to this Uranus. Some of the biggest things that will really clarify for Pisces is their mission and their career and where they work. And these are the houses of Artha houses, earthly material things through which we support our life, through our profession, through our work, through our daily duties and activities. This is where you have the big strength, Virgos. Trine between your 6th and 10th house, Pluto and Uranus, which is happening in September. So the whole year it's active. So July, August, September, October, something wonderful can come here in this alignment about career and so on. You can get, for some of you, Uranus in the 10th can be like a new boss comes that is very progressive, or digitalization of your business, or really putting it to trends and really being in touch with what is wanted. But also another thing Uranus wants to do is to give you more freedom when it comes to your finances and career, because it's in an earthly house. So, and to your daily routine. So instead of being in 9 to 5, a lot of Virgos over the next 7-8 years will discover that they can work either somehow with adjustable hours, or to be freelancers, or to work for themselves, or even as employees, but to work in more free environment, an environment where they have more say. And they might be given positions of authorities, but if they're in a revolutionary state of mind to change something. So you might even create your own company where you're going to, with a brand new idea, revolutionary and genius, where you incorporate new things. You're the innovators in the sphere of career for the next 8 years for the whole world. I think you'll be like the leaders in AI and whatever new technologies are coming. Some of the biggest bosses we'll see will be Virgo, with strong Virgo energy, especially Virgo rising or Virgo sun. They would really catch that wave, and you can make some tremendous positive transformations in your career, in your work, in your daily routines and activities, in the material base of your life, that a very high level, high vibration, because of the trine between Uranus and Pluto in those sectors of work and career. And even Neptune in the 8th house is making a sextile to both of those planets, and Saturn. So whatever I scared you about Saturn in the 8th, Neptune in the 8th, whatever negative things you heard, don't worry about them. And actually in July, Saturn and Neptune on the 17th are together on 2 degrees of Aries. Their first almost full conjunction. They're on the same degree. And at the same time, Pluto is trine Neptune and Saturn, and so is Uranus. Sextile Neptune and Saturn, so is Uranus. So whatever Neptune and Saturn in the 8th house might have been scary, it's for the best. It takes really good results. And you might do some changes here with your career, with your social status. Your social status can change suddenly with your worldly duties and your health habits, or with your work environment, that affect your finances in a very positive way, and that affect your mutual finances in a very positive way. And you might be able to support others as well through those changes. You change your habits, you change your career, your daily routines powerfully, and that's not just 2025, that's especially potent 26, 27, 28, 29. They're all active in this. They're moving together in this figure, in this beautiful figure that is like angel with wings, like a triangle, very auspicious figure. And the peak is in this 8th house. So some of the biggest things is that you maybe free yourself financially and career-wise, find your authentic mission in life here, and do some really good work that heals you a lot, psychologically, emotionally, that allows you to have emotional and financial freedom together with a partner, 8th house, that allows you to have big transformations as well, and to explore your deep psyche and so on, and to heal it there. Or this is resources that come to you from others. You might mobilize the resources of others over the next few years in a potent way to fulfill some visionary career project of yours, or some visionary big project of some sort, and work project that other people's finances, resources, and expertise and skills, because the 8th house is not just their money, is their skills, their talents of others, that can help you secure the skills and talents and abilities of others, help you secure your own career, or help you fulfill your own career and material goals, or you are able to mobilize resources of others to achieve more authentic career and big project of some sort for yourself and work and so on. So I'm trying to explain how this wonderful configuration will work for you. And of course, Uranus finally gives you more freedom when it comes to career, more authenticity. As I said, it's good to incorporate something Uranian into your career, whatever it is we mentioned, you know, either esoteric or technologies, or even something like in your office, put something Uranian or Pluto, because they're both working in a very positive way in your finances, in your career, in your office, in your worldly, anything that is worldly, material, financial, career growth, the material things of life. And that is Uranus Pluto energy. You get there acting in very good ways. So Uranus, Uranus Pluto, let's combine it. Uranus, you can put what is it, like some remedies. Pluto rules paintings of deserts, of rocks, of snakes. Uranus is skyscrapers, for example. You can combine any of this. So Uranus is trampolines. So Uranus is new technology or electric colors. Combine it with Pluto. So maybe have something in your office that symbolizes Plutonian energy, and Plutonian or Uranian energy. Put something there. Yeah. Figurines or whatever. I can't at the top of my head think exactly what can be now, but you can come up with some ideas there. All right, usually in the form of art or decoration, or definitely you have to do some big, both Pluto and Uranus are about changes in your career, but it's leading you to something more authentic and where you're really committed to, and where you're really inspired, and when you put a lot of years of your life into that direction. So that's July. Uranus in Gemini, entering Saturn conjunct Neptune in your 8th house that we talked about. There might be some secrets that come to the surface with Saturn and Neptune in the 8th house, but they're for good, some confidential information that you receive, or confidential or resources from others, of support that's confidential, that supports, you know, the 10th and 6th house, Uranus, Pluto, for your material goals and career and so on. Or someone that supports you financially around that time to change career or health habits and so on. And then Mercury goes retrograde in July, from the 18th of July to the 11th of August. It's all happening only in the sign of Leo, in your 12th house. Your Mercury, maybe it's a bit of a time to take a break. 12th house is the house of breaks. Leo means some sun. Maybe go to the sun somewhere, a sunny destination, island, whatever, far away, foreign countries, 12th house. But especially if it's revisiting an old place you've been before, if you love Greece, you know, whatever, or some other sunny destination. Virgo in the 12th house, your ruler Mercury in the 12th house, from the second part, 18th of July till the 11th of August. You have to be a bit careful not to misplace papers, documents. People become a bit more forgetful when Mercury is retrograde in the 12th house, not to lose documentations or lose keys or lose or kind of say something that gets misunderstood, or try not to get yourself involved in behind the scenes intrigues, because it can be like a broken phone. You say something, someone repeats it, some secret comes out, and you have to deal with those things. But usually it's good for relaxing, for taking easy, for maybe revisiting old places on holidays. Hotels that you love is the 11th house, more of a retreat energy, or maybe spending more time alone, isolated in the privacy of maybe revisiting some books that you love reading, or some hobbies. Mercury is naturally things that you are interested in that you haven't done, that needs a long time, hobby, skills, whatever. But also you might be working behind the scenes, putting final touches or redoing something in the 12th house, or doing some clarifying communications about secrets, secret things that comes to the surface, or things that were not clear to you that you become aware of now. And then on August the 11th, Mercury starts moving direct. So any such miscommunications or complications start getting resolved. But I don't think you should not travel during Mercury retrograde. Usually it's best to travel, though, to a place you've already been to. Otherwise, some new energy, it's the retrograde motion can manifest as something like surprises. You're planning to do something, but your schedule is thrown off, basically. Your plans are thrown off the second part of July, the first part of August. Oh, but it's very good time, especially with Saturn in your 8th house and Neptune and Mercury retrograde in your 12th house, this July and August, to be more introspective, even though Jupiter is in your 11th, you're social as well. But Mercury in the 12th and 11th, you can have beautiful breakthroughs about your subconscious, understanding of some past forgotten memories, past life recollections, healing on the emotional and psychological level, because this is what the 12th and 8th houses are. This is where the traumas, the subconscious memories, the stagnant feelings are. So working with a psychologist, or working with 12th house, the house of mental health, for example, it can help you with such matters. All right. To see it from a different perspective. Then the other big event in September is, on the 1st of September, is that Saturn moves back to your 7th house. And I told you just the last 5 degrees of Virgo, feel it from 25, 24 to 30. So September, October, November, December, those 4 months, those last 5 months have the last testing from Saturn. As we know, it can be something to do like extra duties and responsibilities, or some delays, or some, sometimes it lowers the vibration for one to feel more negative, but also to be more responsible, more organized, to be more serious, to have the power to say no. Saturn gives you the power to say no. So denying yourself something, quitting something, or working hard on the, like, postponing pleasure. This is very good. Saturn is the planet that teaches to postpone immediate gratification for long-term goals. That's the best way. And to have acceptance for some situations that we cannot change, or some to accept them. Okay, it is what it is, to kind of have neutral energy there. But you have to work those last 5 degrees Virgo, September till December, till the start of 2026, on also clarifying some things with partnerships, or this kind of deciding which partnerships to stay in your life, which are worth, which people are in, which friendships or people to leave and which to let go of, and or taking a deep commitment with a partner, on some responsibility or duty together, or some work, or working hard with someone on something. That's another way you can play, or defining your barriers and your priorities in relationships, and or working on some business together with another, or working on your connectivity with others in some way, reworking how you connect others, and so on. and maybe receiving some pressure from others in some way. But again, this is all for good eventually. We need such periods. So last chance for Virgos to rewire their relationships, the earlier Virgos as well, from September till the end of 2025, to remove a relationship that is no longer necessary, to confront a partner about something, or partner to confront you. And if a partnership is not good, Saturn can eliminate it. It's the cleaner. Okay, or to recommit deeper to Saturn is also the planet of legality, to make a partnership legal. But if there is a problem from someone, if some unsavory influence comes into your life from another, or if you're not committed and loyal, this will be revealed with Saturn in the 7th house. Of if others are not being honest, say your business partner, someone you collaborate with, or your marriage partner, your boyfriend, girlfriend. If there is anything, because Neptune also comes back there. Neptune comes back in October 22nd. So there'll be a gain. So if there is anything fake, unreal, or that's just not working in a relationship, you either have to eliminate that one and you'll become aware of that part of the relationship or the whole relationship. But if it's a wholesome relationship with just some problems, or that requires you to put some extra efforts or changes there, it will be much healthier after that. And then in September, we have 2 eclipses. Lunar eclipse, and actually September is the Uranus Pluto trine that is perfecting, good for your career, work, routines, something new happening, changing. There's some new opportunity coming to you from it. I talked a lot about it. I think the whole year they go together, and for the next 5 years, they're always in trine. But if you want to know the exact trine day, it's September the 19th. But still, I think it's active just 5 years constantly. But the other eclipses, Saturn comes in your 7th house, and there is also an eclipse on September the 7th. On September the 7th, there is an eclipse in Pisces, 15 degrees, which is trine Jupiter in conjunct the North Node. And so if you're Virgo on those degrees, 15, so giving it 3 degrees orb from 12 to 18 Virgo, 12 to 18 Virgo with the peak at 15 degrees Virgo, life-changing. September can be life-changing to you with a full moon, because it's the moon causing it. Full moon, North Node eclipse in your 7th house, fated partnership. You can meet a very important partner this month, maybe August, September, October, this period. The partner, personal business that changes your life. There is this Rahu energy of newness. Actually, even though it's full moon, and you can see the fullness of a relationship, take it to the next level or complete a relationship, but it really brings new opportunities for you. But again, it comes through others somehow. But of course, it's opposing directly you at 15 degrees. So it can be a big shift if it's your moon day in your personal life, how you feel about something. If it's your sun day, it can be about career. It can be about your goals and directions in life. And you might see the results of something and receive the rewards, because it's with North Node eclipse. North Node full moon eclipse is to get the rewards of something, to get, especially if you're those middle degrees in Virgo. If you've been working on something, you might be completing it, or you might be in the public eye more, or you might become more popular in some way, or it might trigger important relationship. So yeah, all of those things. We don't know which one exactly, but yeah, and this eclipse, I like it because it's trine Jupiter. It can turn your life around. Even at the beginning, it might be a bit shocking when it comes to relationship, marriages, other people. But it's for good, because Jupiter trines it, and it's with the North Node. So it's saying something really good comes out of this situation. Accept it if a new opportunity comes to you from outside sources as well. But also it's about completing something, shifting in your life in a better way, and seeing results of something. or a big event in your life, fated events, marriages, all those big things that are fated, you know, meeting someone important, changing careers, and so on. And the other eclipse is again in September on the 21st of September. It's a solar eclipse on 29 degrees Virgo. Now we have the sun and the moon at the very last degrees Virgo. This eclipse, though, is opposite Saturn and Neptune. It's a bit harsher. So the last 24, 5, 25, 26 degrees till 30 degrees Virgo, this eclipse, very powerful, life-changing, new beginnings. It's with South Node, new beginnings. Everything that we talked about, lunar eclipse, fated events, new beginnings. And this is a sign that the next 6 months, you're shifting, you're changing your skin, you're shifting. Remember what I talked about, the nodes, eclipses, the skin changing its skin, the snake changing its skin. A new chapter in your life. So the very last degrees of Virgo, well, Saturn and Neptune are opposing their new beginnings. That can also affect you and through partnerships, that it's happening through a partnership as well, because the opposition taking some important decision about the direction in life. I mean, like this year is so eventful for Virgos. Eclipses are there, Uranus starting affecting you, Saturn and Neptune opposing the last degrees. Those last degrees are getting a big workout in with the eclipses and Saturn and Neptune. The middle degrees of Virgo with the lunar eclipse, the early degrees of Virgo by Uranus. So there is action, you know, everyone differently. Later degrees, Virgos, this eclipses, the path life shifting plus Saturn and Neptune, some hard work, some decisions, some Neptunian things as well connected to, you know, dissolving the ego and dissolving the old foundations in life. So while the earlier degrees Virgo, they're all on fire, electrified, Uranian. So very, very different influences for everyone. But somehow Jupiter is holding those eclipses good aspects to Virgo and to your 7th house Pisces. So things will be okay. Don't worry. Things will work out for the best, honestly. And then we have in October, Neptune coming back to your 7th house, just in the last 29 degrees. So again, this 29 degree where the eclipse is happening is opposed by Neptune. So if you're 29, 28 degrees, the second part of the year, September, October, November, can be very intense for you. Saturn is those last degrees. 29, 28, 27, the eclipse is happening there. Neptune is coming back to that 29 degree, life changing. I don't know, out of those, if it was just one influence, I could talk to you a lot, but now I don't know. Is it Neptune? Is it Saturn? Is it the eclipse? The three of them together just will bring a big shift there through partnerships, through the direction in your life. You have to, of course, be careful with your health. Eclipse, Saturn, and Neptune on those last 2-3 degrees of Virgo. Yeah, that's one thing you have to take care of. If you're young, it's usually more social things. If you're a bit older, it can be health matters. Get a bit more sun if possible, because Saturn and Neptune weaken the immune system together in those last 2-3 degrees. And the sun is counteracting it without sun protection. And drink hot water if you can to counteract the coldness of Saturn. So yeah, citrus fruits are also good because they contain the sun with them, because Neptune and Saturn are wet. Saturn is dry and cold. Neptune is wet and cold. So you want the opposite, hot and dry. The sun is hot and dry. You want the counteracting of those two influences. You want to be careful that your environment doesn't have fungus and it's not wet or too cold. To do the opposite, to keep in a warmer environment, but dry, warmer and dry environment, to dehumidify a bit. You know, this will help you with your health, because Neptune and Saturn, if there's any health problems, they're usually from fungus or from cold conditions or from mold exposure or from coldness and wetness combined together. So you do hotness and dryness. If you can put yourself in such a climate in some way, or just expose yourself to the sun a bit more, drink hot water, or spices like onion and garlic, they're hot. as well to incorporate that. All right. And in November, we have Uranus back to your ninth house. Only in the last 2-3 degrees, Uranus will trine. So we have good thing here. Even though Saturn and Neptune oppose those 3 degrees, and there is an eclipse there, 26, 27, 28, 29 in particular. In November, Uranus, 7th of November, Uranus comes back to Taurus and starts trining those last 3 degrees. So it brings a lot of relief there. It brings a lot of like help, whatever's been happening in September, October with Saturn, Neptune, and the eclipse on those last 3 degrees. Uranus comes back to your ninth house, and those last 3 degrees get a lot of support. Through what support can come? Through divine intervention, Uranus in the ninth house, through your suddenly you're finding the right information about something, how to fix something, how to improve it. Uranus is like divine, you're given, downloaded the knowledge with your higher mind, or some teacher appears, or some person. Uranus can be any kind of person that appears and gives you a piece of information that gives you the answer. Or maybe a mentor or advisor can really help you see the picture and help you give you the answers. So despite of Saturn, Neptune eclipses on those last 3 degrees, Uranus, and through electric stimulation of some way, the last 3 degrees Virgo can really improve the whole health. So there is like Uranian methods, Rives machines, quantum signals, electrostimulation. There's different kind of cranial, Uranus rules the cranial vascular stimulation and so on. Such kind of therapies, alternatives, energy, sound therapies are Uranian in nature, can be very healing. And just kind of like almost coming to God energy, aha, eureka moment. Plus Uranus from the ninth house generally can help you have clarity. So it will disperse some of the fog of Neptune and will really help you have clarity there about, despite the Neptunian energy that can be foggy and confusing, to find the truth and to know what's authentic. So it's really helping you those last 3 degrees from November onwards. And in November, Mercury goes retrograde for the last time this year in Sagittarius, in your fourth house. The first, how many degrees? The first 6 degrees. A Virgo will feel that from 0 to 6, 7 degrees. You might reconnect with family this November, from November the 17th till November 29th, Mercury is retrograde. Or you might have some clarifying conversations with family, or have to redo something around your home and property, or reorganize something, or fix something there, or maybe arrange something about land, real estate, family documents, papers like passports and stuff like that. There might be such things, or some other documentations and papers or negotiations about property, family. But you have to be the first 7 degrees of Virgo in November, you have to be a bit more careful because Mercury squares them, and that's Mercury retrograde, the first 6, 7 degrees. So they have to be careful not to lose things, displace passwords again when traveling. Like their routines will be thrown off. They'll have to reorganize themselves, be ready with plan B, C. Well, not even be ready, but when it happens, you just have to be flexible. They might have some clarifying conversations of things that were not said to be said, or maybe you have a plan for your day in November, but it's kind of, you have to be adaptable because something else happens, which is not bad. It can be more fun even. But yeah, it can do with family and real estate and so on. And there might be some, communication things that you have to deal. So this is one Mercury retrograde, the early Virgos feel in particular. And then Mercury towards the middle of November moves into your third house, goes retrograde there. Most of the part basically in November, and in December, it's in your third house. So that's good for business, for arranging, for managing, for reorganizing information, papers, catching up on emails, catching up on correspondence. There might be some papers or documents you have to, find out where they lost or what is happening, or some project that requires extra efforts of your mind, or re-examining certain contacts and communications of yours, or getting in touch with siblings and relatives from before. You see Mercury in the 4th and the 3rd. Maybe you get in touch with family, or go back to a place you used to live, or country, or get back in touch with relatives, siblings, neighbors, all mates towards the end of November and into early December as well. And that's the whole year. December pretty much is calm month. we rarely have like calm months this year, but yeah, like there is always something happening, basically. I think May is kind of a calm month. Saturn moves into Aries. June is Jupiter moves into Cancer. The May, June, they're okay. Then July, we start having Mercury retrograde. August, September is the eclipses. October is kind of a peaceful month. November, Mercury retrograde, but nothing too extreme. We've had Mercury retrogrades often. It's just like rearranging your daily life in some way. But the big events is focus on this Jupiter in the 10th, now then in the 11th, where it's very powerful. Virgos, focus on the eclipses, and especially on the degrees that you heard for yourself. And do the hard work of Saturn and Neptune for the last year in your 7th house, where there you really build a solid foundation with the partner. If you have to settle your life there, to put boundaries and to define the roles more clearly, because this is some of the most important, some kind of, you see, this relational houses are strongly activated this year with a lot of support from Jupiter. So a lot of very important things can be happening for you there, whether it's with your clients, with the public, or in your personal relationship, friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, marriage partners. This is a big, big priority for Virgos. Thank you and be blessed.